Hello YouTube, I'm back in again with another rant video, and obviously it's old news that people are still talking about it, yes, of course, but it still has to be brought to everyone's attention that EDP's life is officially over. Although, even though he got exposed by Cold Raven, Masterwork, Predator Poachers, and the CC unit, the fact is that, is a lot of it had to do with his naive fans, which I find this is why I kept telling people that this is why I can never be a fan. The fact one thing I'm so confused how he had that many subscribers in the first place, because one, he never I even mentioned in a YouTube comment, in my opinion, that he really never had that skill trait as a content creator. It was mainly him just running his mouth. You hardly see him edit his videos. He didn't have that capability of showing some kind of work of knowledge. So one thing I'm so confused, what is he capable on YouTube, on the platform that'll intrigue people to show that he isn't just some nobody. This is someone who's just not some crazy, lazy, obese Eagles fan. Because there was a lot that he couldn't even provide of his own content that made him more intelligent, that made him seem more skillful, that made him seem experienced as a creator. Because I don't really consider him a content creator on top of that, because he just didn't have that knowledge, in my opinion, and he just was enough. He didn't really, although he was entertaining, I'll admit that, but mainly because he was entertaining because the way he looked and his voice, but he didn't really have that ability as a person to prove that how much he could do and improve as a person, as a creator. And obviously, it's just beyond belief that people are still willing to defend him even with all the evidence, because he literally incriminated himself. I even have a video of an upload I did of him admitting that he's a supporter of R. Kelly. People were too blind because I don't want to believe it and shit because I'm a big fan of his. That's the problem. Like, when you're a fan, you become delusional and you don't want to see anything wrong about your role model. And so let me just get straight to the point. The reason why his life is officially over is because the fact that he said he still has that same ego of his. He's really hard-headed. When after he did get exposed, he didn't have that same energy like he did. Especially fake tough guys, I hate the most. They usually do that, especially when I talk about fake tough guys. They don't have that same energy when they're in public, when they get confronted by people. And he's proven that he's a weak link, almost as a weak not as weak as a weak link as his best friend Philippe, because I'm not buying into his story that he did immediately cut ties once he confessed to it, because before there was allegations of EDP doing this kind of stuff, talking to minors. But he pretended as if nothing happened, as if he wasn't there to see it. And you'll notice Philippe is very suspicious later on, because the things that he says, the words that comes out of his mouth, just doesn't add up to his story. Because really, if anything, it's just him saying that, oh, I'm saying this so people can stop harassing me. Even if I am friends with EDP, I'll still text him either way. I don't know too much about the other girl where he had a girl named Aurora sitting on his app, but and one thing I do agree is that the mother that let EDP around Aurora should be ashamed of Erica. Although I barely see any pictures or videos, she might have her own content, but that is very shameful, because that's it's as if she already knew at the time, because he had something to offer. That's why Philippe doesn't want, people like Philippe and Erica, they don't want to cut ties with EDP, because he has something to offer. And I'm not talking about his appearances, I'm not talking about intimacy, I'm talking about money, because he's able to provide considering the amount of income he's getting compared to. And it's as if Philippe is really trying to become his right hand man, so that if his channel does die down, that he can suddenly take over. So Philippe is most likely a leech, trying to get off of EDP's fame, his popularity, so that he can take his role and become popular on YouTube. Because especially being popular on YouTube gives you a lot of massive income as well, and then you'll be known as, then people, even if whether you get negative criticism or whether you get positive compliments, It's all about the fame. Like the more viewers you have, the viewership that you have, it can also like heavily depend on how much money you make. As long as you have supporters who are subscribed to your channel and you have at least 1,000 views. And Philippe is just like EDP, similar, not exactly, but what I mean similar is that his content isn't any better. It's the same shtick. It's just talking about the Eagles, random stuff. He isn't really providing any like detail, like any kind of interesting content. It's just a guy ranting. Because what I mean, like when if you were to become a great content creator, you have to have some editing skills. You have to at least edit some things. You gotta have to show some unique kinds of videos, so people can at least be interested and be willing to watch your videos. And then and although like Philippe, he may not be going bad as EDP. We all know EDP's life has gone downhill, especially when ever since he had to leave California, Bakersfield, because apparently from Master Works info that he had to leave because he had people leaving cupcakes at his house. There were armed men looking for him, waiting for him, because and then the police would possibly show up because there are rumors that he might end up offing himself, and that's not something I say I approve, but that's his life. That's why he immediately left to the Henderson, Nevada, so he can avoid all the harassment. He can avoid people recognize him, just like, which I don't understand, when he decided to move to another uh, apartment complex, when obviously most likely people recognize him because he does not realize the fame, the infamy he has right now on him, which to me is just making himself look more stupid, because that's like saying you're going inside the lion's den and you're taking that risk. Because as long as you have a home somewhere, it's like it doesn't matter if there's too many threats around you. Like he's thinking all those guns are going to protect him. Later on, there's going to be a mob after him, and that's what I'm guessing here too. Because and then that turned out terribly, because you have people like Matt Simon 818 Vegas Vips who were responsible for him getting evicted from the spur apartment because they had to constantly harass the management. They had to constantly harass the employees of the spur apartment to get him out of there because they believe he is a danger, which I understand completely. Although it was mainly for clout, they did it, considering they didn't have they weren't as big at the time, but became big off of EDP. But like at the end of the day, at least it put they're able to keep other people safe. They put they weren't able to put the other people's lives at jeopardy, because that's what EDP would have done had he stayed there a bit longer. If people noticed there was something off about him, still willing to talk to minors, especially in public. And I read one of the reviews of the spur apartment that he was even looking at one of the parents' kids while hanging at the apartment. So that clearly shows that he hasn't changed his ways. And Masterwork has proven that Philippe has not cut ties with EDP, because like he said, he only cut ties, although we didn't hear this off of Philippe's mouth. Masterwork showed the text that EDP said that Philippe didn't cut ties because, and then lied about it, because he knows that he'll get some type of backlash and he'll be harassed. He'll probably almost get the same amount of harassment as EDP, which to me doesn't make sense. If he really wanted to avoid getting harassed, the best thing was to really cut ties with him, but the money got in his way. So because he had something because EDP had something to offer, so Philippe feel like he had no reason to leave him by his side. So he needed him in his side because like he has somebody to provide for him. So that's what you call a leech over there, just like Erica and the others that are still in his circle. And Masterwork even said that could possibly be true, because if he's a professional hacker, because hackers are no joke. Seriously, the things that they shall provide is actual proof. It's just that is actual facts, because mainly because they're capable. Like it takes a lot of experience. They most likely they've gone training from looking into the government's work, possibly doing research. A lot of it also depends on the person, that the resources that they have. It also takes resources too, and the people that they're working with, that they were able to maintain that kind of like advanced like technology and thorough research. And I believe Masterwork, what he's saying is true. After he got evicted, he really, EDP really is struggling with his income. He only has like 3,300, which I don't know how he's, because that's like his, pretty much that's his like his last opportunity right now with that kind of money, his last resort. So what I mean by last resort, like that's only enough to pay his bills, and then at that point he's finished. And let's talk about the jobs that EDP has tried. He's tried going to. He's tried working for McDonald's. He tried getting a job as a Lyft driver. He tried getting a job as a truck driver, and people from the Lyft, they were able to recognize him because of his profile. And then someone did take a picture, and it kind of, I don't know, at first in the beginning I wasn't too convinced it was EDP, but even though it had that person was black, they had he had the size as well on top of it, but the mask, because I wanted 100% be sure, people want 100% be sure that if it was EDP or not, but clearly was. And his life is screwed because like his life is over. Like you could say being outside of jail is far worse for EDP than it is for him being in there. And on top of that, like he might potentially harm himself. So, and then like he's gonna have to live in his car. Even try to get, if I recall, I also forgot to mention, he gotta try to get a job at Chuck E. Cheese. So if he really was to work there, like that would definitely, there's no reason for him to even consider, because it would be obvious why he's going there, so he can find more victims. And that was like, I think that was the last job that someone mentioned that he tried to get hired from. Yeah, tried to get hired to, and it was a real massive fail, because I don't think they even hired him. Because people started noticing who he was, like at that point, in the amount of details. And it was just, and there was, I'm sure people most likely will recognize him. So, and even if he were, they're gonna say, can we see any type of like your background history, like anything related to him on the internet, that's a reason for him to immediately get fired from Chucky's and not get hired. And he's probably most likely living in his car, because he did get kicked out of his hotel, because like people, and then this is where it's also really important what I'm about to mention. I don't believe Philippe at all. Like he even said that he got a call from an unknown caller, with someone with an unknown ID, like it's possibly 911, that they're here to speak about if there's a call about inmate Brian Moreland, and that they have him in custody, that he's been arrested, and they want to confirm with Philippe. I really find it hard to believe, because it wasn't really enough evidence. He could be telling the truth for all we know, but it just really seems like an opportunity for him to get more clout off EDP, because that's who he really is. Like, it's just a clout chaser. Because that's what even though I kind of have to agree with EDP, like people are trying to use his name to make clout, even though I'm kind of doing the same thing right now, but I'm pretty much providing my side, like my opinion. So like I don't believe this. I still think he's in contact with EDP, because like for some reason I guarantee you he's saying this. He's lying to his viewers so that people can lay off EDP, and he can still look for opportunities to be his friend. Like, and I'm not talking about in person. I'm talking about like through text, through online, whatever. So without people noticing, and I'm sure he's, because EDP has no problem with the Philippines. Because from what I mentioned, when EDP was calling out the people who exposed him, he didn't call out Philippe. He didn't mention his name. He didn't insult him. So he was fine with Philippe, because he still sees him as a friend, because like he feels like he was never gonna turn on him, and he's so comfortable that Philippe could possibly be helping EDP, and that seems like if there's a chance that Philippe is involved, then he should get arrested with EDP along with him. Simply because like it's gone to the point where Philippe is his right hand man. He's trying to cover for him. He's trying to get people to lay off EDP, because he knows EDP is his legacy, is his successor, because EDP is able to provide like for what Philippe can't get, because although Philippe might be working his ass off, EDP isn't doing much, and that he's making way, I guarantee, is possibly making more money than Philippe, and that in a way kind of possibly makes Philippe jealous. But he needs EDP as an opportunity to work his way up and getting more money, and possibly trying to overcome EDP. But the thing is that Philippe is gonna fail to realize that he's always gonna be overshadowed by EDP because of how many people recognize, how many viewers, how many subscribers he had, and the people who do know him. So Philippe, either way, he's not. I personally don't think he's a former best friend, but it's really his best friend. The thing is, like, all the one that I can say right now is that he can never accomplish the amount of subscribers that EDP had, even though it sounds like a compliment to EDP, but he's nowhere near that level of being a YouTube celebrity or being a great content creator, and that's how I'm about to call it how it is, because he's just a snake who's just trying to leech off somebody else because of their fame. Like any other person who's trying to grow their channel, he's just a no. But to me, he's basically a mouse compared to EDP, and EDP's the cat. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to expect more content from me. Be sure to check your notifications. Comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you.